Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar introducing BAM Marketplace. We're going to give everybody just one more minute to get in the room here, so we'll be back on in about 60 seconds. All right, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to MCT's webinar introducing BAM Marketplace, our new platform, which is the world's first truly open loan exchange. My name's Ian Miller, and I'm helping out Phil and Justin here with the webinar. So before I pass it over to them, I just want to touch on a few housekeeping items. This recording will be shared promptly this afternoon after the webinar, and we'll also be circulating the slide deck as well. If you look at your GoToWebinar control panel, you'll notice that there's a questions function. So feel free to put a question in at any time. We'll be keeping an eye on that panel. We'll try and address what questions we can as they're asked, but we will also be doing a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So with that, I'll turn it over to Phil Risori to kick things off.
Well, thank you, Ian. We will go ahead and get started here. My name is Phil Risori. I run hedging and technology at MCT, and we've also got Justin Grant on the line, who runs our investor services, and BAM Marketplace has really turned into his baby. So he's gonna take you guys through a demo of how a seller will sell on the platform. We also have a webinar in I believe a week or so for the buy side. This will be more focused on the sell side, but we'll talk about the buying experience a little bit as well. And so he'll take you through the details of selling and buying, kind of what makes the whole the whole thing possible, which is our patent pending security spread commitment process. But I'll start by talking about the genesis of BAM Marketplace, why we created it, and really what it was initially meant for, and where we think we can take it. So just to take a step back, for just humor me for a second to go through a little bit of background. I know on a lot of webinars I've taken everybody through the execution crisis that occurred at the beginning of the pandemic. But I just want to walk everybody through that period of that last week in March, where on March 23rd, you had the co-issuers exit the space, and this is a 2020, of course, and so you had already at the time record volumes were now being pushed through a smaller funnel, all to the aggregators. Then you have these overseas lockdowns create this truly unprecedented situation, this perfect storm where op centers were shut down at the same time that aggregators had seen volume like they had never seen before. And the reason I take everybody back through that that chaotic period is just to say that we don't we don't blame the aggregators because it was definitely a perfect storm. With that said, though, we had a true crisis in aggregator execution. I mean, in a matter of a couple of weeks, we saw conventional multiples. This is product that's delivered, a lot by a lot of smaller aggregators on an actual basis. So product with very minimal cash exposure from a forbearance standpoint, even though that was the main concern. We saw multiples go from 4 to 5 to -3, right? So this was a true existential crisis for, as we say here, particularly dire for a non-agency approved lender. And then of course on the truly kind of concerning product, that low FICO government, which is always a concern when there's going to be a potential delinquency issue, in this case the forbearance issue. Things really went from bad to worse, where you saw products truly begin to evaporate off rate sheets, and so such as the low FICO production. And so we, during this period, as the pricing and products began to evaporate, we scrambled to basically connect buyers and sellers within our client base, because obviously when you talk about a -3 multiple, and again, to be clear, this didn't last on that conventional clean production, didn't last for a long period of time, but it did exist for a few weeks. And so when you talk about negative multiples, there's obviously a there's an inefficiency there, right? There's a lack of liquidity. And so being able to connect buyers that potentially would like to take a stab at that kind of a margin is definitely a benefit for the buyer, and obviously potentially life-saving for that lender. And so what we ran into right off the bat, of course, was the fact that we wanted to affect these transactions quickly, but we didn't have the ability to, to do so until an MLPA was executed between this prospective buyer and seller. And so I'm going to leave the security spread commitment technology to Justin, and he's going to go through that later in the presentation. But just, for now, suffice to say that we were able to, through some of our technology that we had created with the large aggregators like Wells Fargo and PennyMac and AmeriHome at the beginning of through 2018, in the automated AOT technology for the hybrid AOT, the bid tape AOT, we had the ability to automatically basically take security spreads and match them up to current loan values. And so Justin will take us all through that a little bit later. But what we found, and when we got BAM Marketplace going, is as expected, there was huge pickups available for the products that had the least liquidity. Pretty obvious, right? So you can see that on average, those are pretty staggering stats there to the right. On average, for executions that were transacted on BAM Marketplace during this period of really, for the most part, it was May. If we take, thinking back, it's like, gosh, the real scary part was last week of March, beginning of April. But it didn't take till late April to where large depositories began to back out completely of some of the low FICO government. Obviously, depositories are not a big player in the government space. However, that does create concerns downstream on the independent side. So you can see that 95 basis point average pickup for the production transacted. We really realized, as you guys remember, there was some blowouts to high val spreads, some movement there. Cash outs were orphaned by FHFA, and so those are substantial pickups. This was in the let's call it the 50 million a month range that we were initially transacting in May and June of last year. But really, that when we saw the kind of liquidity that this was able to bring to our customers in a true period of crisis, we realized that we were really onto something. So Justin, if we go to the next slide, when we kept kind of going through the period of 2020, everything got obviously really smooth over the late summer, and BAM Marketplace was some of the buyers were still transacting on it, and it was still growing, but growing more in kind of the normal kind of standard products. But it wasn't until January 14th of this year when those PSPA announcements came out from Treasury and FHFA, Treasury of the prior administration, and created a lot of issues, that all of a sudden there was new disruption in the market, new liquidity issues in the market, and all of a sudden there was huge execution advantages again on BAM Marketplace by connecting non-traditional buyers with sellers within our client base. So the obvious one here is non-owners and seconds. And you can see that those are the stats right there on at the bottom box that Justin put together. You can see that we are, on so far this year on second homes that are executed on BAM Marketplace. On average, there has been a 69 basis point pickup. For non-owner occupied, on average, it's been a 51 basis point pickup. Now, look, no question, everybody, the industry in general is over-indexed here. So there's no silver bullet. Obviously, BAM Marketplace, doesn't work for someone doing $2 billion a month that can offload 500 million of non-owner occupied production. But for the sellers in our client base, which at times have limited liquidity, this has become a truly a life-saving outlet. And I think that if these agency changes, especially with respect to non-owners and seconds, have become really interesting, where we've seen some customers that only sell, some sellers that only sell historically to the agencies now skip right to BAM Marketplace because they need to, obviously they're over-indexed at the agency side. The aggregators have, because of their indexing issues, have obviously increased LLPA adjustments, and they're able to looking at the best execution, and they obviously they're going to look at their normal aggregator, their tier 1, tier 2 aggregator executions. But you can see that when the BAM Marketplace executions have been run up against for this year so far, have been run up against current aggregator executions, you can see that there's been a substantial pickup for the non-owner and second home production. And you can see that owner occupied. So the way this is calculated is for owner-occupied product for the loans that were transacted on BAM Marketplace. On average, they beat their cover by 11 basis points. That's that bottom left-hand side there of where it says OO, owner-occupied, 11 basis points. So you can see that on average, the non-owners were beating at 51, seconds were beating at 69. So, pretty substantial there. And we have a really great quote here on the side from one of our clients that definitely was able to offload some of that second home non-owner production to the platform. And just with regards to the cash window limits, this is a little bit more it's a little bit more technical to understand, but as you know, for probably a lot of you on this call have been on some of our webinars talking about the issues that we feel are created in the industry from these cash window caps, the way at least that they are currently set. And one of the issues is that the large aggregators, especially those who are already securitizing, are not going to have problems achieving the scale to get a liquid specified security pay up. However, there is 50 to 60 aggregators that daily compete on BAM and BAM Marketplace, and of those 50 to 60 aggregators, over 80% of them commit to the cash window, and so there's a lot of those aggregators will be over the cash window threshold that's been promulgated, currently at $1.5 billion over a rolling 12-month period. So when you have these aggregators at a $1.5 billion cap, and they're pushed now over to the securitization side, they need to achieve certain volume thresholds or unit thresholds to achieve the specified security pay up that you'll hear about, like the low loan balance pay ups. So they might need to have 25 loans or 20 loans. Their broker dealers might tell them to get an efficient conventional 30 sub $85,000, which of course is the most well-known one because it has huge pay-ups. Obviously, as everyone knows, given where real estate values are going, $85,000 loans are few and far between. And so, especially for a not a super large aggregator, it's extremely hard for them to aggregate that production. BAM Marketplace gives them the ability to look in quickly to a group of lenders that are currently not approved with them, so they can look at a much bigger potential funnel of loans and decide whether or not it is worth it to pay up substantially. And if you just think of the math, if you have a 20 loan minimum on a given securitization and you have 18 loans and you need 2 loans to complete that security, you can pay up effectively, mathematically, you can pay up 10 times what the normal pay up is if you're going to achieve that security by acquiring those 2 loans. So again, definitely, these additional disruptions in the market that have been created by FHFA have really created an additional need for BAM Marketplace, and and we're seeing a lot more success this year with those products. And then Justin will talk a little bit about kind of what we're seeing just as some of these aggregators grow on the platform into the standard production. So with that, I think I will kick it over to Justin. Justin's got a heat map slide here that we will go over, and Justin, yeah, if you can take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Yeah, guys, Phil did a great job there of describing, really some of those pickups our participants are seeing, in times of crisis. But, now that we're kind of going on just over a year since Marketplace was launched, just wanted to share, a couple stats we're seeing. These are year to date. Phil mentioned, spec product, for instance. If you look at that first table, right, obviously those pickups, those spreads to the cover execution, which is just that next best price, gradually increase as you go lower on those specs. Things like lower FICOs, especially on the govies, where traditionally you've got less liquidity, right? You're seeing some much larger pickups than average. And so I think, kind of throughout this presentation, if you guys have been past webinars, that's kind of one of the themes of Marketplace that we're pitching is the transparency and liquidity it's bringing. So you can see here, year to date on all production, that average has been about 28 basis points. Obviously larger on the govies, which is to be expected, but meaningful pickups on conventional as well. And Phil talked about the PSPA limit cap, I should say, on of 7% on the non-owners and seconds. That is also driving kind of your pickups, and some of our buyers to compete on just your standard owner occupied conventional production. One of the ways that they're out there combating and trying to keep to the 7% limit is just buy as much owner occupied as possible to increase that denominator and lower the percentage. And that's, I've had numerous conversations with a lot of you aggregators out there that are on the phone right now, just about margins and competitiveness of the last couple months, really. And this has really been one of the big drivers. And obviously, as a buyer, great, as Phil mentioned, a great way to get visibility into, all the other participating sellers on here that you may not be approved with to really try and expand that pool. I think what we wanted to do next here was walk in with a little demo, more from the sell side. I know we've got a lot of MCT clients on the line here who are familiar with our site and how the loan sale process goes. For those who aren't familiar, we'll kind of go through this, but what you're looking at here is our best execution analysis screen. So this is kind of where you'd come in and post your loans for bid. Really, the great thing about Marketplace, if you've opted in to become a seller and you want to view all the buyer participants' pricing, there's really nothing different for you. There's no change to process. And so you would go load your bids just like any other normal loan sale. With MCT, you've got a lot of ways to kind of filter and define that population of loans to be put out for bid, whether it's by a status or a certain field you're looking at. One of the most widely used methods is to just copy and paste our loan numbers in here. That you've already identified to be put out for bid. So we'll just do that here. Upload these loans, and you'll see here we will walk through and really just a little One extra step here. There's a couple settings you can put out to see, these loans have already been sold. These are test loans. Couple settings you can put. So before you put these out for bid, we've got some nice admin settings specific to the marketplace participants, where you can come in and define, hey, I only want certain types of loan products to be shown to these buyers. You know, maybe you've got your agency approvals with Fannie and Freddie, and you know, don't really have a need. You're you know, sticking to the 7% cap. But really just want to put out your govies for bid. You can do that through those settings. You can set your default bid times as well. We can also come in and oh, that was still going. That's why. Define what products. You know, in kind of the throes of COVID, Phil mentioned there that you know, we had, you know, we obviously saw cash outs, see some liquidity disappear on the cash outs, right? So back then we had our sellers who were using this to put out bids just on cash out loans. But the nice thing is you as a seller, you are in control of what you put out, what you show to our buyers out here. So we can come in once we've got that. We can come in, we can set our bid up here. Let me just get this, it's gonna load. We can define our time, our number of days to be put out to these buyers. And I apologize, my internet's running a little slow here. And you MCT clients on the line, you'll see this screen that's very familiar, right? This is going to load all of our investors that we can put bids out to with our default bid times. Same thing, you'll notice here we've got a space for our marketplace investors where we can have our preset time determined to put those out for bid. When that's good, we can set our bid date, bid time that we want the bid due back by. We'll submit that. And then we can also come in and, you know, again, it's going to default to all of your investors. You may come in and say, hey, I just want to send to some of our marketplace participants to see, you know, how they're looking here. So I'm just going to hit go here, and what this is going to do is going to post our bid tape. We'll hit that, and the beautiful thing is with the tools we provide our buyers that are participating in BAM Marketplace while this is posting. One of the other themes we're going to talk about is just speed and efficiency in these bids. I mean, if you're a buyer, you're going to have exposure now to 160 plus participating sellers in marketplace who want to see executions from buyers like yourself. And so, you know, if you're currently facilitating bids of, you know, maybe 50 per day, I mean, that's going to increase the number of bids that you have to process, you know, in a given day dramatically. And so we provide the buyers with the tools, number one, to set up that kind of instantaneous bid return. So you'll see here, we posted our bid tape, and not even 30 seconds later, we've gotten the bid back from one of our investors here. So we're just going to refresh the screen. We'll show you what this is going to look like. We'll run this. And we'll walk through what the committing will look like, and how we kind of highlight and how you can pull color from, you know, on those loans. The great thing is, you know, a lot of you guys may be thinking, okay, you know, how is this different? from just a normal shadow bid. And there's a couple things, and I know Phil has mentioned the spread to security, and we'll get into that because that is a big differentiator. But number two is just, right, these bids are live. So they're coming in real time, as it would with any of your other investors. You can pull that up here, and we're going to highlight those loans so you can easily see when a marketplace investor is sticking out and winning. And a lot of you guys that are on the line, right, you're familiar. You may want to take a couple days or a couple weeks to see, what, if a particular buyer or a certain number of buyers, how consistent they are with their price. So you can come in, though, you may want to come in and pull some color. We can go pull color on any given marketplace participant, how they would look on their given bid. You might want to monitor that for a period of time. So we can pull that up. We'll pop this open here. So list of loans. And we can easily see how they're looking. Taking a second. And then what we'll do here is we'll also walk through the committing process as well, and kind of walk through how that spread would security spread commitment would pop up. So here we go. This will pull up. Wouldn't be a proper pandemic webinar without some slow internet issues, so apologize. But we'll pull that up. Here it's downloading. You can view your color, and then we'll walk through, and we'll also demo the AOT functionality for everybody as well here, which we've brought in support for in our BAM marketplace, which you know a lot of you guys are using. So again, we can easily come in here, pull the color for the particular investor right there. Now we can go back, and let's just say they were very close. We want to commit everything to our marketplace investor here. We can easily override and update where we want to commit these to. Again, you've got, whether it be a loan or multiple loans, you can see here, okay, now we've got our test marketplace investor here. So we would go in and request our commitments to be executed. Those that aren't familiar with, again, MCT's best execution process, you'll see how, just how easy it is to commit loans. And now what this is doing is, a lot of you guys that are familiar with our AOT process, which supports all those aggregators out there who are supporting assignments. We've brought that great functionality in to support our BAM marketplace buyers as well. And so if you want to assign some trades, we can easily do that. So maybe I want to assign $500,000 here. I could come in. I'll edit this to $500,000 of my $1 million trade. Now you can see we're going to assign of this 636,000 that our marketplace investor is winning. We're going to assign a $500,000 trade. We'll hit this. It's going to give us one last opportunity to verify the information, the settle date, the size. And now we are going to confirm. And we'll confirm that. This is going to post over to the buyer side here. And now what we'll do is we'll have the buyer confirm the bid for us. Post that up. And while we're waiting here for you buyers that are interested, we're going to have a separate webinar coming up in 2 weeks, actually, where we'll really dive into those tools for the buyers and the automation and the margining functionality that we'll talk about here shortly as well. So we'll get this coming up. Pull this up. You can see if we go to our BAM screen here, we will show the requested commitments to our buyers. We'll also be able to view any other marketplace bids that we have out here, have outstanding, so we can see with our test marketplace investor. We've got all the timestamps, so when the bid was posted, when it was uploaded back to the investor, when we requested our commitments. You can always download these. Do that. Our buyer is confirming this bid now. And again, with all of our participating marketplace buyer bids, you're going to see those below here where we define the marketplace bid tapes where you can follow along. We'll refresh here. We'll get an update of our confirm, and we can see this confirmation has been posted. Just populated there before I switched over. So we'll see. The bid has been confirmed, just like normal. We can pop that open. If this is going to be the first requested commitment with a buyer, and again, we're going to go into the security spread commitment here shortly, but you will also get a confirm from the participating investor. And the nice thing is you're going to have that assigned security spread, and those will get databased here as well. And that's kind of nice because you might be dealing with multiple buyers and initiating the relationship with some security spread commitments. And so, in order to keep track of that, we kind of make that easy for you guys there by databasing all those. So you can come in here and see your confirm. All the stuff you guys love with the assignments as well, where we're putting in those details so you can compare the original security strike versus the AOT, the trade that was assigned, that strike price, what the difference was, the assignment ratio, and all that good stuff. So really, again, no big change to your everyday process and in how you're posting and transacting in the marketplace. We're going to automatically put those marketplace participant executions showing up in here, which you can then easily monitor by pulling color and transact with, whether you've already gotten approved and it's a normal commitment, or you're initiating the relationship through one of those spread commitments here. So let me pull this back up. So let's talk about, let's go back here. All right. So we talked about the buyers, and again, we're going to have a much more in-depth webinar. So please reach out. Any buyers on the line that are interested, we'll walk through really those buying tools that we've got available for you to help facilitate that bid process and margin management. But just a couple stats. Here's one of our participating buyers on Q Financial, and just to give you guys an example of what some newer entrants into the market may be seeing. Year to date, you're going to see a little over we've seen a little over 9 billion per month on average in potential volume. So again, we're up to 160 participating sellers, and that's growing weekly. So those numbers are going to continue to increase as we bring awareness to the benefits of marketplace. And really, it's all about providing that instant exposure for your correspondent program. I mean, you're going to have instant visibility into those participating sellers every day as they're posting their bid tapes Those are going to populate in your portal with a chance for you to bid on those. And really, it acts as such a great force multiplier for your sales reps out there. You may be, new to correspondent and have little to no sales presence. You may be thinking about getting into correspondent, but with some of those kind of higher upfront costs, with going out and hiring a massive sales force has kind of deterred you. Marketplace really helps to break down those kind of initial barriers to entry and upfront cost in giving you that exposure. And so with somebody like an OnQ, they got started, kind of out of coincidence, their correspondent program in May of last year. And they had just signed up their first salesperson, really just kind of getting the ball rolling. But through Marketplace and getting that visibility, at the time they were really focusing on government production, lower FICO, which was timely with, as everybody knows, some of the liquidity challenges we had on some of those products. Somebody like an OnQ was able to sign up 31 MCT sellers, in the span of 10 months. And again, that was with one salesperson who was just getting started. So you can see the extreme value in getting, really expediting that process. And it's all about, the transparency and really identifying, the counterparties where, the product you want to be aggressive on and target, those lenders where their profile, meets that axe. And we'll kind of get into the average approval times that we're seeing, but you can see here with those 31 sellers, it took on average 4 days was the turn time to get those sellers turned on. And really, a lot of that has to do with our security spread commitment. So some of the features, really think of Marketplace as giving you the complete technology package, that you need. I mean, if you're going to go out and start a channel, you need to figure out, number one, how you're going to price. Are you going to hire a third party that has the bidding tools? Are you going to bid it out internally? You need to devote IT resources to facilitate the creation of the tools and just ingesting of the files. It's a big undertaking, and we do a lot of that heavy lifting for you by providing those bidding tools and allowing you to connect, through our agency APIs to Fannie and Freddie and access the security pricing to power your bid. So obviously a huge advantage there. And we think we've got some of the best in class tools as far as granular margining capabilities and being able to, really hone in on your bid price and be aggressive where you want to be and not where you don't want to be. Again, those security spread commitments, our buyer tools fully support those spread commitments, which would be utilized by sellers to kind of start the relationship. And once you've got them approved, you're going to transact just like any other, like any normal, bid process with a standard all-in price. Really, the tools allow you to put out that executable pricing, and again, to the industry's largest seller community. So, again, it's a nice one-stop shop to access, those huge swath of 160 plus sellers across the country, who are looking for new buyer outlets like yourself. We showed kind of the on-demand pricing that you as a buyer can turn on very easily. You may want to manage it, and not do that right away. It's really easy. A couple clicks of a button, you can review the bid and submit it back. So we make it really easy, whether you want to turn on the automation feature that returns the bid in seconds, Or if you choose to kind of review, maybe you need to make some manual, changes to your margin depending on certain product that the seller's got out there for bid. That's all doable, and we make it super easy for you with just a couple click of a buttons to return that bid very quickly. I mentioned our margin management and kind of attribute restriction functionality we provide you the buyer community out there. Really this is all about multi-factor, margins, and, whether they need to be client specific, that's doable. Whether you want to restrict, some multi-factor loan parameter, maybe you don't want to, buy a conventional, cash out non-owner product, in California. All doable with our tool. Really allows you to automate and price appropriately for the types of loans that you want to buy and don't want to buy. And then really provide you the analytics on top of that, right? Those ongoing analytics, on competitiveness, where your price stands, all those buyers out there, you guys know how competitive it is right now. It's such a dynamic market, be it agency directives, just daily margin changes as everybody's fighting over volume. Analytics are crucial in keeping up with, with where your price is at, since it is changing on a daily basis. Really marketplace is trying to combat those limitations of the standard loan sale process, and we've kind of touched on those. So, limited liquidity. What we mean there is, on average, we see with our client base, at least of, 270 sellers out there, most of you are approved with 16 or 17 buyers, which is a lot, but on any given month, MCT as a whole sees 50 to 60 unique investors any given month. So, really there's that challenge of, do I have the right investor set? The exposure during crises and regulatory changes, I won't harp on that. Phil did a good job outlining that. But again, that kind of brings us back to transparency and liquidity. When there's times of crisis, that we definitely see change to investors' pricing, and just being able to know who is out there, who still has a good price for a certain product is absolutely key. And especially in times of crisis where we get market volatility, those slower turn times to get bids back, that's a hindrance as well. I mean, it definitely introduces more slippage where you're trying to sell loans, but the market's bouncing all over the place, and you're waiting on a couple other investors to get your bid back. And now they're at different market spots than where other investors price. I mean, it's a laborious thing that can literally take hours. We've had clients talk about how it takes them half a day, on those days. And so, that's absolutely crucial in moving markets like that. Where you get, some slippage in the margins. And again, pricing visibility constrained to approved investors. New investor approvals are time consuming and labor intensive. We all know that those applications can sit on your desk for months and months. And really we're looking to solve that with the security spread commitment. So really the theme is, best X is out there, but there's probably some things you're leaving on the table and aren't achieving true best X. And so a lot of this is really made possible with the security spread commitment. I know a lot of you guys out there are wondering, how the heck can you transact with somebody you're not even approved with? How does that even work? So we'll kind of walk through that here. And really what the security spread is just the difference between the buyer's all-in bid price and the underlying security they're slotting it into. So if you get a bid on the Jones loan of a 104 and they're slotting that into a 2.5 coupon that at the time is priced at 103, that's just a 1-point spread, 1-point security spread. And so if you as a seller see a new marketplace buyer or a buyer that you've seen pricing on has been attractive, and you want to start the relationship with that buyer through a security spread commitment, you can request the commitment on that loan just the way that I demonstrated earlier. And what that buyer will then do is instead of confirming the outright all-in price, they will confirm the security spread. And really what this is just a handshake agreement. The buyer saying, yes, I'll honor that 1-point spread on this loan. And once you're approved, a week down the road, we'll go in and finalize this loan based off of current market. So this does a couple things. Number one, for the seller, right, it gives you confidence that the price you're seeing is an executable one and it's a real one, and it's not one that's going to deteriorate once you're actually approved. You're going to see worse pricing. So it really gives you confidence in the buyer that the pricing you're seeing in BAM Marketplace is an achievable one. And on the flip side, for the buyers, really the power there is it's giving the seller the motivation, lighting the fire under them to get the approval process moving quickly. And BAM Marketplace, when that spread commitment is confirmed and by the buyer, we facilitate that process by passing through all the relevant contact info for seller and buyer. We're able to pass through your application and any MLPA that needs to be signed, so that the borrower has that at their fingertips right away as soon as that spread commitment is confirmed. So that's number one. And number two, they're obviously going to have that motivation and desire to get that filled out very quickly, given that they've now got a loan behind it, and they want to, they have motivation to actually finalize the all-in price. They've locked in the margin, so they don't have to worry about the margin worsening once they're actually approved. But obviously it's a funded loan, and they're looking to finalize the price on it. And so that's kind of the beauty of it there, is it really gets the motivation to the seller to get that app in to the buyer. And then, really from there, our existing buyers on the platform, we're seeing average approval times in less than 5 days. I mean, you saw with OnQ there, averaging, I think they're technically just under 4 days on average for approval time. So really makes that security spread commitment possible with those fast approval times. And then once the seller's approved, we database, for you buyers out there, we database all those outstanding spread commitments with newer prospects that are in process. Once they're approved, you can go in and initiate that finalizing of the commitment. And at that point, wherever that current market spot is on that 2.5 coupon, you're just going to apply the 1-point spread to, and our buying tools will do that automatically for you. And at that point, the commitment will be finalized. But it's great. It allows the buyer to be protected because they don't have to take out a hedge on the loan when the spread commitment is first requested, because they haven't actually committed to or locked in a final overall price. So you might have a little bit of risk in servicing or spec payups, but most of our buyers are you can place a limit, whether it's one loan or $1 million in spread commitments, to limit your exposure there. And really, I think the feedback we're getting from our buyers is it's a small risk they're willing to take on a loan or a handful of loans in order to expedite and get a new seller signed up and on board, and then obviously hopefully committing more loans in the future. So spread commitment really makes all of this possible. So again, marketplace, a lot of those challenges to the traditional loan sale process, marketplace is really helping to mitigate those risks, those limitations, and at the end of the day, bringing more profitability to all participants, to sellers in the forms of new and better executions, to buyers in the form of more sellers getting approved, and hopefully more volume too. And again, that spread commitment really makes that possible. And then we throw in all the necessary tools a buyer and seller would need to transact that way, with the live bids, bidding with investors you're not approved with, sellers that you don't have approved, kind of gets us to that goal of pricing every loan to every investor in true transparency. And again, we're passing through all of the AOT functionality, which at least with the MCT clients, good chunk of them definitely love and look to leverage. So that's all there for our buyers that are looking to offer assignment and trade as well. So I know we're running a little short on time. Want to leave a few minutes for questions, but if you guys are interested in learning more on BAM Marketplace, please reach out to us. You should have all contact information. We've got a page on our website devoted solely to BAM Marketplace. If you're interested in becoming a buyer, for those of you that are on the call, please request the registration for the buyer webinar, which should be 2 weeks exactly from today, on the 23rd there. And then again, we've got some more tidbits on our site. We've got the Alpha Mortgage case study, a lot of information out there, and you can always reach out to myself or Phil as well with any questions.
Yeah, that was great, Justin. And just to talk for a little bit while if there's any questions out there, I think with regards to the current, this webinar was focused on the sell side. We did notice there was a lot, actually probably most of the investors on the buy side, the current buy side, were on this webinar, probably interested in what we were doing here. And one of the things is, most of you on the line have been part of our shadow programs, right? So to help get get your price in front of a live best execution. And one of the things that we've been able to get with security spread commitment is transition that shadow execution to a true live executable, initially an executable spread and then an executable price. And I do think that that's that's a game changer. It doesn't it doesn't need to get in the middle of your approval process with the seller, with the lender, but it enables everybody to keep in their relative positions. And as Justin had described earlier, it enables the seller not to relieve their hedge position, and enables the buyer not to put on their hedge position. That's the game changer, right? Because now you have an ability to affect a commitment on execution, but not a change in hedge, which means that if that were to fall apart from a hedge perspective and a market perspective, there's no harm. And again, this, like we had talked about, this was born out of the necessity, of that was created with the execution crisis last year. But we think that even apart from some of the disruptions that were caused, that have been caused and continue to be caused by some of these changes at FHFA, even apart from that, there's definitely a value there just from the live shadow ability. But if you subscribe to the idea that we're going to continue to have changes, and if you listen to, our current FHFA director, I think we can all agree that those would continue to come. An ability to have for those of you on the call on the sell side, for our clients, the ability to have that widest possible funnel to execute potentially to any willing and able buyer in a time of market disruption is absolutely essential. And we're proud of that this is where, this is a game-changing technology, for our clients and the industry as well. So really appreciate everybody's time. And Justin, I don't see any questions. Do you see any?
Yeah, we got a couple. I'll just run through a couple good ones here just to provide some clarification. We had one question saying, hey, can we just proactively sign up with an investor that we're seeing, is looking good, rather than than having to start the relationship with a security spread commitment? And yes, the answer is yes, that is absolutely acceptable. We have a lot of clients that are doing that, so you don't have to utilize the security spread commitment. You can easily grab the prospective buyers primary contact. You can reach out, so the marketplace still facilitates hooking you up with the correct person on there, and to just get that process started the old-fashioned way, if that's what you prefer. So really flexibility for however you want to start the relationship. We had another question here. Is the security spread commitment only applicable for AOTs? Which is another great question. You can see how it's actually a great way to transact with the AOTs, but it's not limited to having to assign. So, you can use the security spread commitment even when you're not assigning. So there's flexibility as well there. So we had another question here on counterparty agreements, and are they similar, the same as typical aggregators? And really it's right now you're still signing up with the counterparty, and so it's going to be their specific MLPA and correspondent application. So far what we're seeing is a little less onerous than what you typically see, and I think that's partly why you're seeing some of those approval times be so short, less than 5 days. But you could have some that are a little more robust, so to speak. So it's really going to be, at the end of the day, up to the aggregator and what their application and MLPA looks like, and how long it takes you as a seller, on your side to review and get comfortable with. One thing to clarify too, I didn't see any questions on this, but just so everybody's on the same page, right now Marketplace is facilitating agency production. You're plain vanilla conventional government, but we're definitely expanding that into non-agency as well. So your prime jumbo, your non-QM. We think this is a great facility, marketplace for those niche buyers out there who, frankly, are just focused on buying certain products, whether it's a small bank and have a CRA need in your footprint, right? What better way than to have instant exposure to all the sellers and try to source certain loans that are in your footprint than Marketplace. So we're definitely going to have more expansion into other products in the future that we'll be excited to share with everybody.
That was perfect. Thanks, Justin, and thanks everybody for sticking around with us for a few extra minutes to get some of those questions answered. If anybody has questions, you can always shoot them to Justin, Phil, myself, or your MCT representative, and we're happy to walk you through things. But yeah, just a quick reminder, the recording and the slide deck will be shared later this afternoon. So thanks everybody for joining us for this introduction to BAM Marketplace. We'll see you next time.